welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, the show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and how you cannot do that, but instead do very meaningful, smart things with your marketing time and money. And okay, so I've been hankering to have this conversation, and we're doing a whole thing here today because we are streaming live on Halloween, folks, and it's a Thursday, which we don't normally stream live on Thursday, but there's a whole reason why that's happening. But the most important thing is it's Halloween. We're talking about color. So today I am dressed as Pink Floyd. And I'm super excited about my wit that came up with that. And so if you are joining us live today and you happen to be wearing a Halloween costume, then we would love for you to share that in the comments, or we would also love to hear from you in the comments about today's topic, which is color theory. So when it comes to marketing, you've probably heard a bunch of things about how blue means trust and a whole bunch of other things that are related to colors and what they mean. And is it real? Is it not? What is? What isn't? How does it matter? Like, what matters to us versus what matters to our consumers? How do we choose these things? So many things that can go on in our brains about color and what they mean to other people. And so today we're going to talk about all of the things. Well, we won't have time to talk about all of the things, but we'll see where we go. There is no color theory arena that is off the table for today. And so if you are joining us live and you have questions about colors or your relationship to colors or how to choose colors that target your ideal audience or any of these things that are related to the color or brand colors and things like that related to marketing, please share them with us in the chat because we would love to hear your questions. We'd love to answer your questions. We'd love to at least ruminate on what the questions are and come away with some new knowledge for everybody. And for those of you who know me, you'd be like, Tracy, you are not a color person. I'm the person who's like, let's have black and white websites. I'm like, just do the things, right? And it works in some scenarios. It's like a newspaper, right? I'm not a graphic designer. This is not my area of expertise. And this is why we have the lovely Lauren Deakin joining us today. Lauren and I have been friends for like years now at this point. And the way she sees color is like, I'm super excited to share with you all today. So before we get too far into the conversation, Lauren, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit more about you and how you got into this kind of designy phase that you're currently in?
Designy thing. Of course. Hi, everyone. So I'm Lauren. So I'll tell you about my business very quickly. So I help female business owners take their businesses to the next level by creating bold and bespoke branding and also unique interiors that make their brand stand out. I predominantly work with women who work from home because, it's branding, but it's about your personal branding, right? So things like logos and color schemes and bringing your vision to life with custom homeware and even bespoke wallpaper. But prior to doing all that, I have the strategy side, which is I find very fascinating. But anyway, we're not talking about that today. So my goal is basically to transform basic brand identities into complete brand experiences. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to level up, I basically help women create a cohesive brand that works in their business space and to help them elevate their presence. So me and my background. So my background, I went to university about, God, I can't remember how long ago now, but it was a very
long enough ago.
So it was like over 10 years ago.
I went to university at some point.
And I did bespoke print basically for interiors and fashion. I picked interiors and my love went from there. I have a background in working professionally in industry as a bespoke stationery designer, in branding, and illustration. So, you know, I'm not just a graphic designer. I have really cool illustration background, and I was also head of trends as well when I was doing that, and I've still carried that on through into my business, which is really, really exciting. I love it. Yes, you know, it's great, you know, you have to have those things that you follow, and there's always going to be guidelines, but personality is key.
Okay, so let's start there, because you went there first, Lauren. So, because I'll tell you, this is something, and I know we talked about this in advance in preparation for the show, but there's color wheels, right? And colors mean the same thing to all people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
What'd
yeah.
you think?
Well, no, actually, I don't. So I think it's all to do, you know, I think with your subconscious, how you're brought up. You know, you might have family or things that are ingrained in you that about thinking about things in one way, and then other people think about it in another way. And I think that goes for colour, but other things in life as well. So your perception on something, you know, for instance, I had a client who thought red was like, yeah, let's go. And I was like, no, like, no, like, it means warning. Like, why are you picking red? So, you know, like, but then I think it gets fun and interesting when you realize how many colors there actually are. You know, you don't just have your primary colors, you've got your secondary colors, and you've got all those different tones. You know, for red, for instance, where it goes right down into orange, which is a gorgeous color when you've got red and orange mixed together, you know. So so colors mean, I think, different things to different people.
And this is something I agree with. And even when you're saying this, right, I'm looking at the colors of pink that I have, and I think there's like 4 different colors of pink here right now. And even I mean, I often thought this, and I don't think there's any, I mean, maybe smart people will come up with a way to experiment this on some point, but like, if you could see the world through someone else's eyeballs, right? Like, would you see, because there's like different rods and cones and stuff in there, would you see color the same way? Or what I think is pink, you actually think is purple? Or like, there's like a whole bunch of, like, I see it, we call it pink, but you see it like a very different way than I see it. And there's like so many things. And just like, for people who watch this show, they'll know my stance on personality assessments, which is these have been made up by humans. They're not magic. The color wheel, also made up by humans. And so while there are some interesting scenarios, and we're going to talk about one in particular that Lauren already touched on, where society has kind of made the color mean something particular. There's a lot more scenarios where that color or shade or tone or what have you doesn't actually have an innate meaning. It has a meaning that is bestowed upon it by Lauren. You mentioned in your intro an experience of a color. And so before we get into like talking about specific colors, can you tell us a little bit more from your perspective? Like, what does it actually, from a like strategic point of view, look like to have that conversation on how we want people to experience our brand and reflect that from a color perspective?
I mean, I know we talk about personality a lot, but I mean, that's got to aid that transition, because if not, you are looking at a piece of paper and going, oh, that color means that and that color means that, so oh, I must pick that one because that's how I feel. You know, but So when I work with clients, they'll come to me and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I've got these colours in my brand, but I want to level up, but I want to move and take them forwards, right?" And 9 times out of 10, this is why I've started doing this whole strategy thing, because it's also got a lot to do with your values, your mission, why you do what you do, how you want to show up, and if something doesn't align right with you, then there's something that's not sitting right. So by looking at that and moving forwards with looking at the intricacy of colour and how it actually links to you, is really, really important. There's no point in picking blue if you really don't like it, and I think, yes, there's going to be guidelines about, for instance, I work with quite a few like well-being businesses, so most of them are picking like green and teal and all like the really lovely somber colors, and that's brilliant, that's great, because they think they have to pick those colors because that is the connotation with it, but actually if you want to put your personality in there and have a slight twist, what is that? And color can really do that really simply. I mean, I'm just putting it out there, but like the colours behind me here, they're really kind of simple, aren't they? But then say if you manage so this here, if you threw in a little bit of a pop of pink or, a pop of orange or something like that, what does that mean then? That brings your brand alive even more. So I think colour allows you to communicate your brand without actually saying anything, which is really exciting.
I think that's true. And so let's go back to let's talk about communicating our brand, right? So because our brand is really us, right? So we're trying to communicate us.
That's super easy,
then,
right?
I mean, there's a level of self-awareness I feel like it needs to be there in order for that to be possible. But also, once we get into a business scenario, then we're also looking at attracting our quote unquote ideal clients. And so when you're working with people from a color perspective, is there one of those that you start with? Do they have kind of like a 50-50 relationship? How important is I feel like this reflects me as a human versus I feel like it attracts my ideal people?
Well, I mean, this is the whole point of really working on your brand, right? I mean, I know I'm going off on tangent here, but really putting out there what you do, who you are, and how you do what you do and the people that you want to work with. So by actually working on the actual strategic side first, the actual branding and the colors and all those types of things actually bring that strategic side to life. So by getting that right, that then allows you to draw in the right clients that you want to work with, right? Whereas if you don't, and you just go out there and you go, "Oh yeah, I really like that and I really like that, oh, I'm just gonna go and do that myself and do it on Canva," right? But
or I know someone needs to trust me in order for them to buy my services, so I'll choose blue because blue means trust.
Yeah, exactly.
But then like you mentioned, how many, I don't even know, thousands, millions shades of blue?
I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't,
right.
Because you could have a shade of blue that's got a hint of purple in it. Well,
right. Yeah. So let's just say infinite. Infinite amount of colors. And there's, even if random, but I have this collage on my wall that my son and I made of the planets of the solar system, and they are different colors. So Neptune and Uranus are both blue, but different shades of blue. And so I'm looking at this poster and there's I can't even count how many shades of blue just in this one collage. And we quote unquote simplify it to the point where blue means this. And I think this is one of the things that I really wanted to kind of just open up to people's area of perception today, is that blue can be many things. And those many things can mean many things to many people, including yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gets to a point, I think there's a lot of a kind of a consumption of society, and you do what you think you should do, and oh well, I'll pick that because that's what it should mean, and we're actually pick it because that's what resonates with you, and I think if you think about it, like, there's other people out there doing exactly what you do, but what makes you different, what makes you stand out, right? So don't hide behind your other competitors, um and just go out there and be you, and that will really resonate with your ideal client more. If you're working with, I think it goes beyond yourself, doesn't it? It's also got to resonate with that client that you really want to work with. But 9 times out of 10, your ideal client is probably a version of yourself. So what does that look like? So then that's when you look deep inside yourself. So, looking at brand archetypes, and, I think I did mine recently, and I did it again just to make sure mine came out as the rebel, which was really interesting, obviously.
I mean, just an interesting call out there for people. I mean, like, this is like me talking about the Harry Potter sorting hat quiz, right? Like, we all know what it takes to answer to be a Gryffindor, right? Does that mean you're actually a Gryffindor? I don't know. But the interesting part about that, and okay, I'll make another Harry Potter reference here. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Harry Potter, sorry about this. But like, and spoiler alert, in case you want to mute this for us 2 minutes. In the very first book of Harry Potter, he gets sorted into his house, and he's sitting there being like, not Slytherin, not Slytherin. And the sorting hat is like, not Slytherin, hey, you could be great, and he's like, Harry's like, no, I'm not gonna be a Slytherin. And then so he gets put into Gryffindor. But the interesting thing about that, later on in the series, sorting hat comes back and was like, I told you, you could have been great in Slytherin. And Harry's like, no, I'm not choosing that. And I think it's just a beautiful commentary on what we choose, right? Yeah. Like, even though this part of your personality or whatever could match with that, if you want to choose something, you're so strongly like, I'm a rebel, I'm putting myself into rebel category, then we can do that. The permission exists as long as you give it to yourself.
Yeah, and I've never seen myself as a rebel at all. I've always seen myself as really girly, I like my makeup, I love fashion, I love doing all these things. But actually, when I think about it, I do like pushing the boundaries. I run my own business. You've got to want to change things and change things up and stand out, right? So, and I think it's down to experience a lot of the time. It's one thing working for someone else. I never thought I'd run my own business, to be honest. And I don't think a lot of people do. And you're great at what you do, but then maybe running a business is like alien to you, right? And you're just going out there and you're authentic and being yourself, and that's what's going to draw people in. But then actually, everything links, everything, flows as one. And when something doesn't link, you're going to notice, but your audience is going to notice even more. So color is such an interesting subject. It really is, amongst thousands of millions of billions of people online, for you to stand out, the use of color and you showing up as you is so important. It really is.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this link between colors and feelings, because I feel like, again, whether all people feel the same when they see pink is not the point, but there's, in general, feelings that we experience, at least when certain colors are present, or certain hues or tones or what have you. And so, can you share with us a little bit about how to, maybe let's frame it as how to tap into the feelings that we have about specific colors in our life, if we're going to tap that into our brand colors?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is a definite link, right, between your personal life and your and your business. Like, there's no way that I could be working with a color palette in my business that just didn't resonate with me, because you're working with it every single day. You know, if you're not creating posts or, you know, seeing your logo constantly, and if you don't like the look of something, especially if you're quite a visual person, it's not gonna you know, resonate. And I always say to my clients, you know, look at what you're wearing, look at your wardrobe. You know, it's your personal brand. You know, if you're I think there's a whole different conversation if it's a corporate business. But when it's your personal brand, you're showing up, running a business digitally online. Yeah, all right, you might be showing up in person, going networking or whatever that might be, and that's where it runs through to what you're wearing as well, right? So, you know, look at the colors in your wardrobe that you're wearing, right? If you wear a lot of black, maybe that's your thing, you know, and your home as well. You know, this is why, for me, working with women who work from home is really important, because it doesn't just stop at your business. It's your business and you and your space. You know, you're going to be waking up, working in the same space day in, day out. You want to feel motivated and excited to you know, get up, use that that notebook that just looks amazing. And I know, you know, people are like, oh, it's not about what it looks like, but it's got something to do with it, you know, and because it's a psychological thing. Color is psychological, like you said. We all have different thoughts and feelings about what colors are. Like you were saying about pink, like I see pink as like being energetic and, you know, well, let's go. You know, but some people, like you said, some people will absolutely hate pink, and that's absolutely fine. So yeah, it's just yeah, I can, as you can tell, I can just go and I go like off on some tangents. You're gonna have to go, hey, Lauren, bring it back in.
This is what I'm here for, as the moderator. But also, I find, specifically on this show, one, we love tangents on the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, because
you know what you're going to say or come up with, do you? It's exciting.
Good nuggets. Yes, good nuggets, always in a tangent.
Oh, another conversation.
Okay, so let's talk about, like, let's take this away from like brand colors a little bit and talk about the space, because I feel like this is something that I talk about a lot, more so from the like psychological perspective, but from like creating from a space of inspiration. And I think a lot of times what we forget is that the space around us can be a source of inspiration, or it cannot be a source of inspiration. Yeah. And as my oatmeal colored walls are there's a something in progress coming here, people. If Lauren lived closer to me, it probably would be done already. But
I'm gonna paint you all for you.
Yeah, just come on over and do the wallpaper. But like, I will not do wallpaper. Let's see, tangent. There we go. But like, in terms of like looking at the space that you are in and how it makes you feel and how inspired you are by being in a space, this is, again, I think there's been a little bit said about it when we talk about like the Googles and the Metas of the world who have all of the money to create these spaces where people can like go to feel inspired. But whether it's a like home office or whether it is a corporate workspace, I think there's still a lot to be desired left in terms of like how we design our workspaces to inspire us. So can you talk about that a little bit, Lauren?
Yeah. And, you know, I think sometimes these things come naturally to you and sometimes they don't, and that's absolutely fine. And for me, you know, sometimes, like, you know, you know how to do something, you know how to, you know, like me, for instance, you know, like color and making a space look amazing, all that stuff. I know how to do it. It's a psychological thing, right? So, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. But I know we're not talking about that, but when you're working on the strategy, which then creates your color palette, that's where things really come to life, right? So, you know, when you've got your brand, so you've got you know, your icon and all the little gorgeous bits and pieces that create your brand, then that's more the graphic side of things, right? And then it moves through to more illustration and typography. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting and a little bit fun, and things can be a bit more fluent and come to life, right? So that's where then things run into your business merch, like gorgeous notebooks, postcards. I've got some bookmarks here as well, right? So these things are so, so important. And then from that, then, so this here as an example, this pattern behind here, this is also a wallpaper, right? So these all really will then come out digitally into your space, and it's really, really exciting, really exciting. If you've got more of a wellness business and you are quite botanical, leaves, all that type of thing, which that's kind of like, I'm not trying to label anything, but that tends to be the route. It's like bringing the outside in, right? And then you start getting really creative and really excited. You're like, oh, I really like this style, I really like this, and it all starts coming through. But there's really it doesn't have to, when it actually comes to bringing a space together. I was actually having this conversation with a client the other day. I was like, really simple things like, you get your color palette, right? You'll get all your hex codes. You can take them into a local kind of paint merchant. I don't know what they are by yourself, but here we have places like B&Q and Homebase, right? And you go in there and they will literally color match a pot for you that matches that. So then you can start bringing those colors into your brand. And then you can get really cheap, like from IKEA shelving, right? And just get plain white, whatever you want to get, even frames, things like that, and paint them your brand colors. Start bringing it all to life. You've got your colors then, go out, get cushions, put a lovely seating area in your space. I mean, if you've got a bigger space, put a sofa in there. Make it home from home, make it cutchy, make it cozy, bring candles in. And these things will start to you'll start to really just come into yourself. And it's about momentum, it's about leveling up, it's about having that space, even down to smells. I've had people come to me who create perfumes for interiors and hotels and things like that, and they're like, oh, if we work with you and women had this kind of smell within their space. It's like, that's amazing. That's absolutely incredible, because this is when this is going off on a tangent now, but if you are very spiritual and love to meditate and things like that, they always say, get yourself some sort of smell, because when you are meditating, it draws you in and that's what calms you. So if you have something like that in your space, that's gonna zone you in and make you zone in on right, this is what I'm doing, and your just whole mentality would change. And it's absolutely fascinating. It's definitely, yes, color is one thing, but the psychological, thing of everything is just on another level, and it's so fascinating. I love it.
I love that, in my brain, that's alignment of experience, right?
Exactly.
So you have the color and you have now this 3-dimensional experience. And this is why I remember when Andy Fellows, who is the guy who did the music for the show, and I always, if you want custom brand music, please find him or I will make an introduction. But when I met him and he was like, I do custom music, customs, and I was like, yes, I need that, because music is part of my whole vibe. And when the music feels right, and it was really interesting because then he was like, okay, well, give me some examples of songs that you love. And I was okay. But then I was like, but I need some mystery in this, right? Because there's got to be mystery. There's no just answers here. It's got to be a mystery, an investigation, kind of Scooby-Doo-esque. Right? And so I'm describing all of these things based on other sounds that I've felt that make me feel those ways. And then what he came up with was just I'm like, oh my God. And now it's my custom music, and it's just very, very cool. But when you create that 360-degree experience, whether it starts with color or ends with color, it's really cool to have that full alignment in a brand experience?
Yeah, it's, I think I definitely have a very feminine, very holistic approach. I love flow, and because it's really, when I work with clients, I'll have like whole day sessions with them, because sometimes, you know what it's like when you're put on the spot, you just can't think. And then when you start to feel really comfortable and really in your flow, suddenly it just like starts coming out. So it's a time as well, but it's so interesting and so fascinating, and I love it. I'm definitely not I don't know what you call it, but like a business owner, if that makes any sense.
I mean, you're a business owner. I don't know what the air quotes are for.
I'm not. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say too much because of life.
Oh. There's no rules on the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show. They'll try to say things. I'm not going to edit it later. So don't say things you want me to edit out, because it won't happen. But we're business owners. Fun fact, everyone: Tracy and Lauren are both business owners. You can't.
It's late here.
I didn't invite you to the show to help to make you remove a part of your identity. That's like the opposite of what we talk about on this show. But like, this is where it's interesting to get into the conversation, right? Because you're like, I mean, I want to talk about this from this perspective, but then I'm like talking about business stuff, and should I talk about business stuff? And like, man, the levels of shoulds that exist in the way we have conversations is deep, folks. It's deep. And we try to get rid of shoulds on the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show. But I just want to touch on a point that I heard you referencing there, Lauren, is kind of this like the ownership of the experience, right? Like, I feel like once there is this, like, I'm going to call it alignment or matching or what have you, that you're like, yes, this is my experience, and it's not a life coach's experience. It's my experience. And like, this is something I have so much fun with, because like the way marketing consultants show up in the world is like pretty standard, right? Pretty consistent, old school professional, right? And I'm like, I'm just not that. And if you like that, you're probably not going to like me. So I should just like show up as myself. And then if you like that, then we're fine. But like this ability to own, and it's something I always talk about from even like whether you're looking at a profile or logos or colors or whatever, like, can you see yourself in them? Like when you look at them, you're like, yes, that feels like me.
Yeah, there's definitely like an intuitiveness when it comes to doing something, like I've done it for so long now, when you just look at something and if it's not right. It's just something you kind of, if something's not like aligned right, or something's not the right size or the right color, all those times, it's just an intuitive thing. So yes, I definitely can.
Yeah. And I think it's an important call out too, to like practice your intuition, right? Because again, a lot of time logic tries to dictate, or we've heard this from the internet, and the internet says I should choose blue because blue means trust. And then like you have your colors and you're just kind of like, eh. And I've had clients who are just like, meh, right? Like those are our colors, that's our logo, just meh.
Yeah. Oh, I had someone come to me because they were like, oh, so the color of the season is burgundy right now, so I must have that in my brand. And I was like,
the color of the season next season is going to be something different.
All right, if you want to do a post or show up online and do some sort of campaign that's within this time of year, right? Maybe bring it in then, but don't change your whole brand because you want to be burgundy. Like, what is that? Honestly,
and it's like one thing if you're like, oh, now I've seen burgundy and I feel burgundy, so I want to incorporate burgundy. Like, that's fine. But when I did my dinner for peeps earlier this week, I wore like tone on tone burgundy, and I was super proud of my outfit.
Don't get me wrong. I think my hair isn't burgundy right now.
Doesn't mean
like that, but
doesn't mean it's in my brand colors.
Yeah, I know. Like, paint your nails in it, maybe, or wear a top. But don't go changing your whole brand because it's the season and I must have burgundy. No,
Yeah.
I mean, this is the problem. I think I have this quite a lot if I'm working with people who love trends and they're so into them, and it's like you can't keep changing your brand like that, like because it's about consistency, right? It's about showing up online and being seen as your authentic self, and I get that, but it's all got to align, and when you're changing it constantly, it's confusing, and people don't understand. You get lost, right? You get lost in the ether of things.
Yeah.
So
okay, that actually leads me to a question that I had too, Lauren, was about rebrands. Because I feel like there's a lot of reasons out there why people think they need a rebrand. Maybe it's the color of the season. I think we debunked that one already, folks. But like, what are some of the things that you see from a rebrand perspective that like actually indicate that a rebrand is required versus some of the things you've heard people say they need a rebrand for, and you're just like, yeah, no, that's not a good reason to rebrand?
Yeah, I mean, if there's something that's not aligned, then there's a reason. I mean, sometimes it can be as simple as not actually the color or anything like that. It could actually be something as simple as your messaging, But we all grow, we all evolve. So that's where your brand will grow as well, right? And sometimes colors will change because of that, but sometimes they don't, and that's absolutely fine. I worked with a client recently where actually their color palette didn't change, but they actually changed their business name and their messaging and the whole kind of structure of what they were doing. So it wasn't anything to do with the color. Sometimes it might be, but sometimes it might not be.
Right. Yeah, I think this is an important point, because I often think that people think a rebrand is going to shift something in the market. But from my perspective, a rebrand is about something has shifted in your business. It's now no longer in alignment with you. So we rebrand to put it back into alignment.
Yeah, especially if you're, like my business now 4 years ago, I was just branding, just logos and, simple stuff, which was great. But then now I've evolved, right? So I've added other elements to my business. My business name has changed, right? Some of my brand colors have changed, but more so, this is where it gets interesting. So my colors have changed, but more the tone of a color, right? So I absolutely love khaki green, like deep, like the color of my curtain here. I absolutely love it, right? But actually, I've gone deeper. But those two colors, light and dark, on top of each other, that adds a whole different perspective, and it's really exciting. So I love texture. I love, I just love it. I love it. So.
Well, and it's fun for me listening to that story, because I remember meeting you 4 years ago, and like you've actually like gone deeper into who you are. And so it's really interesting then that you would say like, I went with this color, but deeper. Like these are the types of things that happen as part of a potential rebrand. And I think that that's just like such a great example. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, I have at least two more questions. Okay, I want to talk about the concept of a mashup. So one of the things I experienced for myself, so I was in New York earlier this week, and I was like, oh, I love the energy of the city and the people and the movement and like all of the things that are happening here. Yeah. And then I came home to my little small rural town yesterday and went for a walk this morning, and I was like, oh, I love it, right? Like I love that I can see the stars and I can see it. So like, and then I have this desire to move to Croatia, and I love that equally. So I have this like, but it's not like I'm one of those things. I'm actually a mashup of those things. Like I'm what do multi-dimensional,
multifaceted or something? Yeah, something like that.
I'm multi-something. Absolutely. And so like, I can imagine that from a color perspective, that there's like some interesting ways to take multi-passionateness and reflect that from a color perspective. So I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have around that.
Yes, I love that. So I am the mashup queen, right? So I love it. So the way I actually go about it, which is kind of like, how you do it in branding anyway, but when it comes to picking your colours, the way I do it is, you've got this kind of flamboyant side of yourself. So you've got the bright colours, so you've got like the gorgeous, the what do you call them, like clashing. You've got clashing colours, right? But they're bold, and that's the lovely, bold, exciting, eccentric side of you, right? But then you come home and you've got the countryside, and it's all very, So then we've got the botanical side, right? So we've got these more. You can't really see my screen. Hang on. Yeah. No. Yeah. There we go. See? So we've got dark right down to light, and actually it goes right down to like terracotta and orange, which is gorgeous, right? So you have all these different tones of color which bring it all out in you in different stages. So you have like your primary, your secondary, and then your neutrals. Yeah. So your neutrals is the more kind of calming, and and the way I work, obviously, like very much pattern, print design, all that type of thing. But you've got to have a basis. You've got to have a base for everything, right? So, for instance, you might show up online one day. You might be really love to be really like flamboyant and really excited, but then personality-wise, the next day you might not want to show up like that. You might want to be quite calm and. I want to go for a walk, and I just don't want to really show up that way today. So it all really does flow in every aspect of our life. So I hope I've explained that well.
Yeah.
Voices.
No, I think that's like such a great example, because just to kind of bring that back to the concept of consistency as well, like the interesting thing about that is we are taking all of these things and making them one. And so you create the space to be able to show up in one way one day and one way the other day, and it doesn't become inconsistent, right? It's not, because all of that is like part of who you are. And even if you only use like, I'm extra pink today because of Halloween, but like usually I just have my headphones. My headphones are pink. They're my pop of pink. I love it. And I've had like lots of people ask me, is pink my brand color? And I was like, no, it's just like my pop of color. And I like it that way. But like having that like holistic idea of like, I really am all of these things, and this is how they tie together, and having someone skilled like Lauren to help you understand, one, like how deep of this color do you want to go, and like those types of conversations.
How much of that color, because it is all about, it really is, a skill to how much of something that you would have in your space. It's not all about like having everything in pattern so it makes your eyes hurt and gives you a headache. It's not it's not about that at all.
Let's not do that.
It's a holistic flow, and it's really exciting to be able to bring that in. And it's been such a journey for me, as a just graphic branding, and how I can bring that element of style and interiors and just the whole experience into my business. Like, I feel like it's such an exciting thing to offer female-led businesses, because I don't actually think there's anybody out there doing that whole experience, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah. Well, and again, I love these types of conversations because how I feel like I see people maybe a little bit deeper than other people see people. And like, for me, I just feel like this is just a beautiful manifestation of who you are as a person. And so it feels like so in alignment, so perfect match, right? And I can see how excited you are about it. And I'm just like, yes, this is so, and now I need custom wallpaper designed by Lauren. We'll talk about it after. Okay, one last question. And Christmas cards and a whole bunch of other things. But
they're out now. I literally did a post on that today.
I know, which is why they were talking about, because I saw your post. Okay, but one last question, because we might also have people watching this show who work in more of a corporate type of environment, and I know that you've worked in those environments historically as well. So from this kind of like harnessing your brand energy perspective, what type are there like specific questions to ask or specific things we need to be talking about if we want to do that from a corporate perspective as well?
I don't think there isn't any change. I would just say it's more restricted, unfortunately. And it is more so showing up. It's the showing up aspect, right? I think in a corporate mindset, having the colors and showing up as you are, amazing. I mean, I don't know whether you're referring to people who either work for somebody else or have a corporate business.
So I'm going to just use
They're
an example. Yeah, I'm going to use an example that I'm thinking of right now, right? Like a marketing example. So like a lot of times people will go to like a trade show and they'll all wear the same outfit. So the uniform will be like the company shirt with a black blazer and jeans. And like that's the, and so
You see, that's my worst
I
nightmare.
saw the face. I saw the face.
I'm like,
so like from a like living your brand perspective, like what kind of, is there something that might work better in that kind of scenario?
I mean, yes. I mean, I think that obviously it's all got to do with embodiment. Embody your brand. Just because you're corporate doesn't necessarily mean you have to show up in a shirt and a tie, right? You could quite easily. There's ways about doing that. If that's your thing, absolutely fine. I'm not kind of discriminating against any of those things at all. But even if it's bringing color into, like your campaign and your marketing collateral that you've got, like your roller banners and all those types of things. And even if, say, I don't know, literally you've got one speck of color and it might be purple. Think about how you can bring that into your brand, right? Even if it's like you've got you're wearing a suit or whatever, right? If it's just the shirt underneath, wear a pop of colour. Or if you really want to go out there, wear a purple suit, right? That's probably not a good idea. But like,
oh my gosh, I saw a lady at the airport at JFK who was wearing all purple and her hair was also purple. And I was like, this is so amazing. She's just like owning it.
Amazing. Weirdly enough, my partner had a purple velvet suit a couple of days ago. It was amazing. With all floral tie. It was incredible.
Yeah. Well, I actually have a friend locally here who like very commonly will wear a Hawaiian shirt to trade shows, and not because it's part of the corporate brand, but because it's part of what makes him stand out at a trade show.
Amazing. That's such
and he's like, people always come, so now I have to always wear this.
No, because he stands out, right, above all those other people that are, literally is what I said before. All those other people that might be doing exactly the same as what he's doing, but he's gone there standing out and wearing this Hawaiian shirt. It's something so simple. Some people might think it's tacky, but genius.
Still attracts their attention.
Genius. Exactly, because it's thinking about it. It's thinking outside of the box, isn't it? And just something simple and small like that can absolutely change your life, change your business.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is kind of the fun, right? I love just the phrase embody your brand, right? Because if we're thinking about a logo and or brand colors and like want to choose them because they embody our brand, then also how do we allow that embodiment to flow into other parts of our business? How do we allow that to flow into how we show up at a trade show? How do we allow that to flow into what we choose to go on from a LinkedIn Live or podcast perspective, right? How do we allow ourselves to show up in a networking room with that kind of energy? And this is one of the things I love. Like when I do in-person networking events, I always put attire, whatever you're most comfortable connecting in, right? Because like if you are most comfortable connecting in people with people in a 3-piece suit, go to town, man. But if you like to wear jeans and runners and a baseball cap, cool, right? Like it doesn't matter. But knowing like, what is this for you? What gives you that kind of sense of personal power to show up and do what you need to do?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's just been a journey, and I think you have to remember that working on yourself is a constant thing. You know, it's not like you show up one day and you go, I'm running a business, this is what it is, this is what I do, the end. Like that's it.
Yeah, just in case anyone was watching and wondered if that was supposed to be the process, it's not.
It really isn't, you know, like since starting my business, which I never did before, you know, I do a lot of self-care, I do, you know, a lot of meditation, I do, you know, I do so many things, and because you have to go inside to be able to showcase that outside, and it's about the confidence that you can bring, right? So this is why I've brought in this whole kind of strategy, kind of, it's my brand elevation blueprint that I've got, because that psychology side is so important, because that's literally what just opens up. I always see it as like, you know, like a flower when it's closed and all of a sudden it opens up, right? At the end of that process, that's literally how I see my clients showing up. And there's this like kind of aha moment. They're like, oh yeah, I get it now. And when you start to show up confident in yourself, and you know that you are just doing you and doing the right thing, it's about the flow. So, I mean, like me, I go to, it's taken me ages to know what events to go to, you know, where to show up, all those types of things. So for me, I go to female only led events because I work with women, right? I've tried all sorts, you know, I've tried the events with the suits and but you know, I prefer, you know, I'll go to a networking event like this. I might put a little blazer on, but you know, wear my New Balance trainers, which are literally this colour, like pink and orange, like amazing, right? So I love that whole pop of colour, because I think if you show up, I think what I read the other day, you might be talking, but actually that's the least thing that people notice. So they don't actually notice what you say, but like your kind of like personality and how you show up, you know. So if you're all bubbly and excited and you really want to go, people are going to notice that, rather than you just being like this in the corner and not really saying anything, you know, because no one's going to listen. So it's the confidence thing as well. And I think when you're content in what you're doing, it showcases in everything that you do.
Yeah. And I think this is, again, a lot of times we can get caught up in the like checklist item of things, like we need to choose a brand color, we need to have a logo and blah, blah, blah. But we forget that it's supposed to be a reflection. And like, if we're working under that umbrella and it doesn't feel like it matches us, then we create this opportunity to show up. Well, I mean, we're lucky if we show up, because generally to some degree it's uncomfortable to show up under that umbrella.
Right.
And then
you're brave, you
even
know?
if we do, yeah, then it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And this is something like I hear a lot on LinkedIn in particular, is people who like don't like to do marketing, right? They don't like it. And I'm like, I have to do it because I'm a business owner, but I don't like it. You know, like, I feel like your window is like very tiny into what marketing can be if you're like, it's this one thing and I don't like it. I mean, it's a pretty big umbrella of things. And within it, like, especially if you look at color as it's a great example, right? Because if there's infinite amount of colors and you have chosen two, well, then maybe there's just something more to that you could explore that would allow this to be not something that you hate doing or you do just to check a box, but something that you do because you want to, because you get excited to do it, because you do show up as that like blooming flower, right? And if you're going to show up on social media, don't you want to show up as a like flower in bloom instead of this little like bud that looks like it's withering?
I get it, you know, when you start a business and you're going out there, it's super scary, man. You know, it's, you know, and of course, you know, your budget is small. You're going to go and just, I got to create a logo and I need colors and I just need to get out there and I need to do this. I get it.
Black and white, folks. Black and white. Just in case you're wondering, somebody can buy services from you with a black and white website and logo. Just saying. Not saying that you shouldn't choose color, because I love the feeling that comes with color, but I also think this is another level of should, right? Like, I should do that. Should you, right? Go out, talk to people, live your brand experience for them, right? Like, ask people what kind of colors they experience when they experience your personality, right? That might be interesting market research to do. And again, you don't have to take that as truth, because everybody experiences color in different ways, but there's lots of ways to do it, and it doesn't have to feel like I have to pick a color and then I'm like defined by that, right? Like, I don't think there's any company in the world who hasn't shifted their font or color or logo or all of them at some point in their life cycle as a company, and you can too. So what's a good reflection of you today might not be a good reflection of you 5 years from now, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think self-awareness is so important. And I think, this is the whole point of building a brand, right? If you think of, I absolutely love Sarah Blakely. She is my inspiration. And I think she's just started another company called Sneaks. Is that right? And they're like trainer shoot like heels. They look amazing, right? But the point I'm trying to make is, yes, she's got Spanx and she's got this new company, but you know her as Sarah Blakely, right? So whatever she ends up doing, you've bought into her, right?
Right.
That's the whole point of showing up, your marketing, going out there, being authentic. And then all of that will aid you showing up and all your visual stuff and all your colors and all that. Stuff.
Also, just in case anyone's wondering if I paid Lauren to use the word authentic today, I did not.
No, but
that's just an authentic connection that the two of us have with authenticity.
The thing is, though, that's the point of being yourself and attracting the right people into your world, right? Like you said, we've known each other. Well, I'll be coming up like 5 years probably soon, and we've never met at all. No. But we've stayed in each other's world.
Although I'm coming to London next year, so I'm going to make it a whole big thing.
You have to sort that out.
Yes.
That'd be incredible.
But I need to get people from all over the UK to come to London. That's where I'll be.
I have with a few other female entrepreneurs as well.
Maybe we should do a whole crazy, stupid marketing conference. Okay, stay tuned, people. Now we're ideating. This is just an idea at this point. I'm making no promises. But Lauren, okay, we're running out of time. And before we do, can you please share with our wonderful viewers today, who iCare is he's got lots of comments in here. Especially this laughy emoji, which I thought was funny when we were talking about going on tangents. But where can people find you if they are interested in learning more about what you do and how you do it?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm all over social, so you can find me right here on LinkedIn. I'm over on Instagram as Lauren Deakin Designs, and you can find me at laurendeakin.co.uk. But by all means, come and see me on LinkedIn. Just Lauren Deakin. Pop me a message. Come and say hi.
And Lauren is tagged in the LinkedIn post associated with the show. So you can just click on her name and head right on over there. Let her know you saw her on the show, and then she'll have some backstory on where you're coming from. And as a reminder to all of our fabulous guests who are in the chat and also not in the chat, if color theory is something that is top of mind for you right now, or you're choosing colors or looking at rebranding or any of those color theory arena of things, don't let this be the last conversation that you are in about it. As you can tell, there's a lot of depth that exists here that we touched on today, but your unique experience and your customer's unique experience are just that, unique. And so continue the conversation. Lauren's a great person to be in that conversation with. And if you are also an expert, even just like, let's get this community of people together so that we have all of the color peeps. I don't know if Melanie Patro ended up in the chat today. She didn't show her chat face. But from a style perspective, Melanie is like killer in that arena. So like, there's a whole vast network of people that can help with like the different pieces of this puzzle. And
Definitely.
connect with them, to have conversations with them,
Oh,
share
yeah,
knowledge, ask
definitely about
questions, do the
collaborating.
things.
Amazing.
Awesome. Lauren, thank you so much for sharing all of your wonderful knowledge today. Thank you everyone for watching. And until next time, permission to do you.